fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
LONGFORM story, The Vampire's Curator ***. I still remember the day I received the mysterious letter. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning when the mailman delivered an envelope with no return address, adorned with a wax seal bearing the image of a serpent coiled around a staff. The symbol seemed to shimmer in the morning light as if it were alive. As I broke the seal, a faint whisper seemed to caress my ear. "You have been chosen." The letter inside was brief, with only a single sentence. "Meet me at the old mansion on the hill at midnight. Come alone." It was unsigned, but the paper felt heavy with an otherworldly energy. I tried to brush it off as a prank, but the words lingered in my mind like a gentle hum. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself standing before the crumbling mansion, the trees surrounding it like skeletal fingers. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay. I hesitated, wondering if I should turn back, but a morbid curiosity propelled me forward. The front door creaked as I pushed it open, inviting me into the musty darkness within. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and imposing, with eyes that burned like embers. He introduced himself as Valentin, an ancient vampire who had lain dormant for centuries. His voice was low and husky, sending shivers down my spine. "I have awakened," he said, his gaze piercing mine, "and I require a curator, someone to provide for my particular tastes." I was taken aback, unsure what to make of his request. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Valentin's smile was enigmatic. "I hunger for more than just blood. I crave the finer things in life: art, music, literature, and cuisine, and I want you to be the one to provide them for me." As he spoke, his eyes seemed to bore into my soul, and I felt an inexplicable connection to him. It was as if I had been chosen for a purpose, one that only I could fulfill. Thus began our peculiar arrangement. I would scour the city for the rarest ingredients, the most exquisite artworks, and the finest literature, all to satiate Valentin's refined tastes. He would, in turn, reveal to me the secrets of his immortal life, sharing with me the stories of centuries past. As the nights passed, our bond grew stronger. I found myself looking forward to our midnight meetings, when Valentin would indulge in the delicacies I had prepared for him. His eyes would light up with pleasure as he savored each bite, each note of music, each verse of poetry. I began to feel a sense of pride and purpose in being his curator, in being the one who could bring him joy in a world that had long since lost its flavor for him. But our relationship was not without its challenges. Valentin's nature as a vampire made him a creature of the night, and I had to adapt to his schedule, often going without sleep to accommodate his needs. And then there were the moments when his hunger would overwhelm him, and he would struggle to control his thirst for blood. I learned to recognize the signs, to intervene before he lost himself to his baser instincts. As the weeks turned into months, our connection deepened. I began to see beyond the monster, to the complex, tortured soul beneath. Valentin, too, seemed to be drawn to me, his gaze lingering on mine with an intensity that left me breathless. One fateful evening, as we sat together in the mansion's grand library, surrounded by shelves of ancient tomes, Valentin turned to me with an expression of profound longing. "I have waited centuries for someone like you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Someone who can see beyond the curse to the heart of me." In that moment I felt the weight of his words, the depth of his emotion, and I knew without a doubt that I was falling in love with the vampire. As the night wore on, our conversation turned to the topic of fate and the strange, inexplicable connection that bound us together. Valentin spoke of the concept of fated mates, of two souls destined to find each other across the vast expanse of time and space. I listened entranced as he wove a tale of ancient myths and forgotten lore. And then, in a moment of unguarded intimacy, he took my hand, his fingers intertwining with mine. The touch sent shivers down my spine, and I knew that I was his, body and soul. But our love was not without its costs. As the days passed, I began to feel the weight of Valentin's immortal life, the crushing burden of his secrets and his solitude. I realized that I had become his anchor, his connection to the world of the living. And I knew that I would have to make a choice, to stay with him, to walk the fine line between life and death, or to leave, to abandon him to his eternal loneliness. As I stood at the crossroads, torn between my love for Valentin and my fear of the unknown, I felt the whisper of the serpent's voice echoing in my mind. "You have been chosen," it seemed to say, "but at what cost?" And so I made my decision. I chose to stay, to be Valentin's curator, his companion, and his love. Together, we would navigate the complexities of his immortal life and the dangers that lurked in the shadows. For in the end, it was not the vampire's curse that I feared, but the thought of living without him.